This is the Marathon Handbook Podcast, and we are doing a live instant reaction podcast of the 2025 New York City Marathon. My name is Michael Doyle. I am joined seemingly forever at the hip. My colleagues, Caitlin Tossi, Alex Sear. Guys, we just talked for like 4 hours about the New York City Marathon, so why not do another few minutes? So we just wrapped our live watch along show. If you watched that live on YouTube, thank you for joining us. That was awesome.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
That was an amazing marathon to watch and to cover. And so we're going to do our instant reactions. We've taken a pause. We've eaten some Cuban food. We drank some
donuts.
We drank some coffee. We ate a couple of donuts.
I'll say it now. Dunkin' Donuts coffee, not as strong as the Canadian coffee that I usually have.
It's not.
It goes down smooth though.
Mm-hmm.
So
it does.
But you need a lot of it. Like a big one.
And we are fueled by it right now. So we're going to break down the New York City Marathon. It's fresh on our minds. We're going to break down the women's race, the men's race. We're going to talk about the big announcement, the big two announcements from Eliud Kipchoge, his big farewell, and then his really vague but intriguing announcement after the race that we literally just heard about from the media center a couple of seconds ago. We'll also talk about the American races, some incredible performances there. We'll talk shoes as well. We can't not talk shoes.
We have to talk shoes.
And then we'll just do our takeaways of what we thought of the New York City Marathon weekend from our perspective, just as runners, as running nerds, what we saw at the expo, the pop-ups on the streets of New York. And then we're done with New York. So, okay.
The season is coming to an end, guys.
Ooh, okay, so here we go. Let's talk. I think we should talk women's race first. That was obviously the first race to go out this morning, and also the race that I think was most heavily featured on the broadcast as well.
It sure was, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Almost to the point where it's like they swung it in the pendulum in the opposite direction, where it's like usually you get way too much of the men's race and not enough of the women's race. This time around it was kind of the flip.
I think I said as we were watching and the live watch along, I was like, wait, I'd really like to know what's going on in the men's race right now. But it's usually, you're right. It is usually the opposite, but we were able to get it all in.
But also it's well done here. They have the women start half an hour before the men. They need to keep doing this because then you can have 30 minutes of uninterrupted women's content. Then on the other side of things, when the women's race wraps up, you can focus on the finish of the men's race.
That's right.
It's actually so much better than having both races start at the same time.
Yeah.
That's right. So without burying the lead here, I think I was going to say, I think the most exciting finish of the day, and then I just had a flashback to the
men's
crazy
finish.
men's finish. But I think,
Yes.
I think the bulk of the women's race was more dramatic and exciting overall because you had the top three. The top three were the three last champions of the New York City Marathon. And in the end, it shook out where it was Hellen Obiri, who won the New York City Marathon and a new course record of 2:19:51, and then Sharon Lokedi in a close second and 2:20:07, and the third place finisher was last year's winner Sheila Chepkarui in 2:20:24. We'll break down the American women's performances in a minute, but we should give a big shout to Fiona O'Keefe, who may have had the most impressive step forward in her career of any athlete perhaps today. So takeaways right off the bat. What do you guys think, Caitlin? What do you think about Miss Obiri's performance?
I think it was classic Obiri, right?
Yeah.
The sprint finish at the end. What I loved so much about the race is that we didn't know who was going to win until the end, until the breakaway. And that was what made it so exciting. And to be honest, even throughout a lot of the race, before we got down to the final three and then the final two, we still had O'Keefe and we still had Sifan Hassan kind of yo-yoing back and forth, getting back up to the top group, going back into a chase group, going back into the top group. And so it was extremely exciting for about, I don't know, how long was that going on for?
Oh, like the last 20K,
Exactly.
really?
Yeah. So that was really exciting. And I think that, Obiri reclaiming NYC with this great win, her excellent sprint finish, it was just very, it was one of the most exciting races we've seen in a while.
It was one of those races where you could take a few screenshots in the last even 45 minutes and witness a bunch of different cool moments. One of them being Sifan Hassan starting to drop off the lead pack when I think 24 hours before the race, she was touted as the absolute favorite, and then she
Right.
was gone. A second cool screenshot that I wish I would have grabbed for the Americans out there was Kipchoge, Obiri, Lokedi, the three former last champions running side by side with Fiona O'Keefe.
Yes.
That was cool to watch, and it made me wonder how deep and how far she was going to go in the race. And then finally, the screenshot to capture was once again Lokedi, Obiri in chapter like 7 or 8 of their long-standing rivalry, duking it out. And I'll be honest, just before the break, Michael had his money on Lokedi. I
Yes, I
wasn't
did.
sure where I was going to put it. I thought it was going to be a sprint until the finish, and then it became clear Obiri just took off. And usually when that happens, Lokedi has a response. This time, nothing.
Yeah, and Obiri made her move really early in the grand scheme of things.
Agreed.
Well, similar to when Obiri won the 2024 Boston Marathon again against Lokedi, she surged pretty early. And we also had, and this is what makes this rivalry really fun between the two of them and very dramatic and very much like the big boy and big girl sports of pro team sports, where you get these really dramatic, intense entertainment moments. So if you flash back to this year's Boston and last year's Boston as well, these two clearly do not like each other.
No.
And Lokedi is very vocal on the course in these closing miles. And this time was no different, where she's like, basically, I think she was kind of yelling at Obiri, being like, don't sit on me, get up here and like
Run next to me.
If you run next to me or past me, don't sit on me. And there was a very close moment when they went back into Central Park. If you know the course at all, you run through Central Park, then you pop out at the bottom at Columbus Circle, you run around the bottom perimeter, and then you make a hard right and you pop back in. And there's all these borders, all these spectator gates put up. And there's a hard 90 degree angle turn. And Obiri was on the inside, Lokedi was on the outside. And Lokedi was like, you could tell, she was like, I'm not giving you a goddamn inch here. And it was pretty tight for a second there. And then there was a little bit of back and forth between the two of them. And yeah, the vibes I got, we had our colleague Thomas was in the media center while we were doing the live watch along, feeding us information, sending us videos and photos. And we got a photo of them at the finish. They're sitting next to each other very cordially in the press conference in the aftermath. And they actually address the dialogue. One of the journalists in the room asks Sharon Lokedi, like, hey, what's the deal between, what were you saying to Obiri? What was the conversation like out there towards the end? You were saying something to her. What were you saying to her? And Obiri, Lokedi kind of like, I think she sort of sidestepped exactly what she was saying, which is like, don't sit on me. You're being like, this is not cool. And was attempting to be, I think, magnanimous and gracious. And she said something to the effect of like, congratulations to Helen and to her course record, but you could tell she was like, I don't think these two like each other very much. So,
and I think that's something really notable to mention that you said the course record, because let's think, this was a 23-year-old,
Crazy.
22-year-old course record there from 2003. And not only did one person break the course record, but we're talking the top 3 all broke the course record, right? So I think, and this was the first time also, of course, if it's a course record, but that a woman ran under 2:20. So this was a really big deal for the New York City Marathon. And it was a day in history for women's running there.
Yeah, and in a weird way, I feel like 3 women going under the record almost has the opposite effect on New York, feeling like a course that's getting easier to figure out. I actually think that it's making it seem like even more of a hard course. We had so many athletes in this field who had run way faster than that record, and then most of them missed the mark once again. It's a tough course. The weather today was perfect. This was a day to run fast, and still, by today's standards, right, a 2:19.51, not all that fast for a herd of women who are the absolute best in the world.
yeah, we should note though that this is definitely it's a championship style race, meaning that there are no pacers, hilly course, twisty course. Many of these athletes were asked by the journalists in the room in the media center afterwards. Specifically, Benson Kipchoge was asked, and we'll talk about the men's race in a second, but he was asked what the hardest race was between Boston and New York. And it seems like the consensus is, yes, Boston is a more devastating and challenging race on your legs, certainly. But New York is tricky, but you can run that second half fast, especially if you're running at, I think, what is a fairly conservative pace in the first half, and it just started to ratchet up at the halfway point. I should note, Hellen Obiri ran just about I think a little over a 2-minute negative split to get that course record. So they were pacing over 2:22 pace and then started ratcheting up the intensity. Takeaways from the overall women's elite field before we move on to the men's elite field. We will talk specifically about the Americans after the men. What do we think about Sifan Hassan?
I think she was still tired from Sydney. I mean, I don't want, I mean, let's say it's not even 9 weeks later or somewhere right around there. She just ran the Sydney Marathon. And when we spoke to her at the press conference pre-race, she did mention that that Sydney really, really busted up her legs and she was tired and she was fatigued. And she actually said, and I quote, "Sometimes I think I hate myself when I think of the decision, that I made to run Sydney and then New York. I will never do that again." We'll see. But she did say that.
Yeah. I think she came in tired. Sifan Hassan is usually superhuman, and and she's also a very smart athlete. And I think someone in her position, someone who's run much faster than anyone else in the field, the strategy at New York should have been obvious: go out hard and see who keeps up with you. She didn't do that. She went behind a bunch of the athletes. Yeah. She never injected any pace into the race. She was hoping to hang on and see if she would have something special at the end.
To me, the way she executed this race was very similar to the Paris Olympic Marathon, which obviously had a very different result, where it felt to me like she was testing and sort of biding her time and seeing what others were going to do and kind of hanging back and then challenging her body to see if there was a response. Obviously in Paris, there was a huge response. She started to feel good. She started to attack in the second half. And then she was, literally off to the races and smoked the second half of that race and won the gold medal. This time around, clearly didn't have it. She made a couple of really smart, calculated moves. If you're a fan of the sport and you're fascinated by what makes a great runner great, even though she didn't have she had an okay outcome today. She finished 6th overall. But watch how she managed the stress and the decision-making at about the 25K mark of this race, where after about 28 kilometer mark of this race, she knew there was a make or break moment and closed a gap. And I think it probably took a lot out of her, but she had to close that gap and it put her back in contention for a little bit. She's a very smart runner. She's a very capable person, obviously, and is somebody who you imagine will come back to New York in the future and just crush this course record at some point.
She had to risk it. And what I mean by risking it is that when you surge like that, it's tiring. It's tiring to yo-yo, right? It's tiring to surge back and forth. And she did that a few times. She knew she had to close the gap if she wanted a chance at all. She risked it and she wasn't able to stick with the group.
Yeah, you should notice here, we put up on the screen, if you're watching the video version of this, and shout out to our executive producer, Kosuke Maeda, who is doing a wonderful job today with the Watch Along show and with this Instant Reaction podcast to spice it up with some visuals. We've got like the full list of Sifan Hassan's splits up there. And you'll note, unlike Hellen Obiri, who negative split by over 2 minutes, Sifan Hassan positive split by over 2 minutes. So really like kind of a tale of two different races there between Hellen Obiri and Sifan Hassan in terms of the performance. Okay. Before we go to the men's race, I got to give a shout out to our podcast sponsor. Usually we would drop in an ad read here, but because we're doing this live on YouTube today, let's just talk for a minute about our experience with the Wahoo Kicker Run, because they had the Wahoo Kicker Run at the expo all weekend, and you guys did some really fun video content with them. You were like,
we had so much fun.
So we had this. You can see it on our Instagram. We had this. Alex and Caitlin basically courted in people who were walking the expo and walking by and like, what is this going on? Because Wahoo's got this amazing setup with Hoka and Zwift, where they've got big screens in front of a couple of treadmills, and you can run in Zwift, which is like a virtual world that's paired with the Wahoo Kicker Run. And you did a couple of different things. One, the two of you created a video where you ran all of the different paces on the Wahoo Kicker Run in run free mode, which basically is like this amazing feature in the Wahoo Kicker Run where you like you can control the pace, and the sensor in the treadmill slows or speeds up based on how fast you're running, which is like unlike.
That's incredible.
It's unlike it's running. It's not running on a treadmill, right?
Right, exactly.
And so you did all the different marathon paces all the way up to, what was the fastest one you did?
2-hour marathon.
You did 2-hour marathon.
We did the
pace
Kipchoge.
Yeah.
You did the Kipchoge at the end. You lasted
30 seconds.
There,
Oh,
that's
hey,
not too bad.
that's not that bad, sir.
Yeah.
And then the second thing we did is we gave away free hats to anyone who dared try to run their fastest 10-second sprint on in run free mode. But if you basically got a special shout out if you hit 4-minute mile pace, because this thing can go 4-minute mile pace.
We had 2 contestants hit the 4 mile.
Make it to 4.
Yeah.
And then they got to choose between a Wahoo hat or a running sicko hat.
which I am wearing right now for those watching along, which I think we will make the semi-exclusive. It will go from exclusive to semi-exclusive when we put this in the merch store for a little bit. So thanks to our sponsors, Wahoo, for helping us make the podcast happen on a regular basis. They're an amazing partner. This is like truly the best treadmill in the world. Full stop. We've tested the hell out of it. And right now, for the month of November, if you use the promo code in our description, you're not only going to get a free smart fan that actually adjusts based on your effort. So it reads your heart rate. And if you're running faster, it blows more wind, which is really cool. And it kind of simulates being outdoors. Not only do we throw that in, we also, it's 25% off the entire treadmill for the month of November, which is
and winter is coming,
insane,
everyone. Winter is coming.
Don't
as
remind
Jon
me.
Snow says, winter is coming. So thanks very much to Wahoo for sponsoring this podcast. Okay, so let's get into the men's race. The men's race.
Even more exciting at the end.
Oh my
More
God.
excited at the end, but also more kind of like pensive throughout the first half, I would say.
Yep.
So in the end, spoiler alert, your boy,
Yes.
Kipruto.
Kipruto.
Benson Kipruto, your pal, who Caitlin told us after Friday's media availability that Benson Kipruto told her a secret that she was not allowed to tell anybody. And she is not telling us what that secret is. And it's burning a hole in my mind.
I will not reveal it. He made me promise, and I said no.
Does it have to do with running?
No.
So you guys don't care anyway.
I care
it
more
does.
now.
No,
Now I'm very curious.
No, it has to do with running, I imagine.
No, of course it has to do with running. Yes, but it was really exciting for Kipruto because he has 3 marathon major wins prior to today, right? And so today was his 4th different marathon major win. And so now he's got Boston, Chicago, Tokyo, and now New York added to that. And he told me at the athlete time that we had at the press conference that, of course, this is not the secret, that one of his goals is to win all 7 marathon majors.
I mean,
he's on his way.
That's no secret considering he's already got 4 done.
Absolutely.
I mean, you got to wonder if this guy's going to run London in the springtime because he's not won London yet.
That would make sense.
It would make sense.
Going.
Yeah. And he's in his mid 30s. So like, I mean, I don't mean to be dramatic, but time is running out for all of us. But I mean, my God, this guy has got to be like, we talked about this in live watch along. He has got to be on the Mount Rushmore. There's the 4 heads, the 4 presidents of the Mount Rushmore. He has got to be one of the 4 heads in the Mount Rushmore of marathon running. I know that, we're sort of biased by the experience of just watching him win yet another world marathon major, but he's won 4 majors, including the 2 tough ones, right? Two marathons. Eliud Kipchoge did not win Boston and New York. Right?
Yeah, and as far as I know, I don't think anyone but Kipchoge has that many different major wins. Like Kipchoge has
4.
won 4 separate major marathons. He's won 11 in total, but many of them are repeats. So,
and we'll break down the legacy of Kipchoge.
Oh,
in
we got a lot to
seconds
say about that.
There's so much to talk about.
Yeah,
it was like the dominant storyline, I think, the entire weekend. But so Benson Kipruto won a barn burner, and unlike the women's race, which I think was defined about a mile out by Hellen Obiri putting in a big effort,
right?
On the men's side, it was a throwdown between Benson Kipruto and his teammate, his Adidas teammate, Alexander Mutiso Munoz, who like these guys, they know each other. They might train together. They're like, I mean, look at the podium there. All three of the athletes on the podium are wearing identical Adidas kit. Like, nice look. If you're watching the video version of this, I think Adidas is very pleased with today.
Yeah, very content
because they got 4 of 6 podium spots because they got a bronze medal in the women's race as well.
And do you think Kenya's happy?
They swept podium.
6 out of 6.
6 out of 6. That's wild.
That is
big day in
wild.
Kenya right now.
Yes.
You got to say, seeing Kipchoge and Munoz cross the line together was there were a lot of parallels between the men's race and the women's race, but the fact that these two guys seemed to love each other it couldn't have been more different than the women's race.
They couldn't have been happier.
It was like watching, I think I said in the watch along show, when we saw them. So what happened is they enter into Central Park side by side, just the two of them. They gapped positions 3 and 4, and it was off to the races, and they were pushing each other. And Mutiso was kind of on the shoulder of Kipchoge, but I think it was a scenario where Kipchoge wasn't really giving Mutiso the option to take the lead. And then, like, literally, I don't know, in the last 80 meters of the race,
it was like less than 100.
Mutiso was still there, and he pulled out and he gave it everything he had and tried to outkick Benson Kipchoge for the win. And it was just a scenario where Kipchoge had just enough in him to counter the move, and held him off, but they broke the tape simultaneously pretty much. You could tell by the eye test, you could tell it was Kipchoge who won because he was just a slight bit ahead.
Little shoulder there.
They ended up with the identical time, right down to, get this, 0.03
crazy
difference was the official time difference.
Is that, like, a serious question? Is that the closest marathon finish in history? Because even just last month, about 6 weeks ago, we saw maybe a closer finish at the World Championships, but I mean, it can't get much closer than 0.03.
No, it really can't.
Yeah, so he won in 2:08:09, and of course, Mutiso got a 2:08:09 as well, and he gets the silver medal. And then 47 seconds back, Albert Career, also an Adidas athlete, also Kenyan athlete, who was the 2021 winner. He takes 3rd place.
Yeah, and men's race, if I had to predict the top 10, and my predictions today were subpar.
It's okay.
You're
think usually pretty good at this.
I'm usually pretty good at this, and today I was bad. And I'm happy that I didn't predict the top 10 because I think it just would have been even worse. We had an interesting collection of characters in 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go through them a little bit because
right?
it's even in terms of brands. So Patrick,
give 4th place its due because this is an impressive performance.
Very impressive performance by Patrick Dever. Runs for Puma, British athlete, dropped a 2:08:58. I think coming into the race, he was ranked just inside of the top 20. And so that was a huge jump for him.
I think this was his debut in a marathon, no?
This was a debut. His time conversion would have ranked. He was
an hour flat half marathon. He ran Houston, the same race that you ran.
Yeah, he did. He didn't see me though.
Have we also mentioned that even to get to that 3rd place podium is only a second in between 3rd and 4th.
They were really close.
That was also almost a photo finish,
they
right?
Were really close.
If we must mention as
to
well.
To miss the podium by that much is, I mean, it's bittersweet, right?
And then check out 5, 6, 7. I mean, just break that down for us.
Okay, so 5th place, Matthias Kibbers of Switzerland, running for, how do you pronounce it, Caitlin? Salomon running.
Solomon.
They make fun of me. They make fun of me all the time.
So wild. No.
You make it sound so elegant and beautiful. It's probably actually how the people who work for Solomon say it in Europe. This is Solomon.
And I trust you because you encounter it more because Solomon's had much more success on the trails. It's traditionally more of a trail brand. And
5th place, you would have said that this is UTMB. What are we looking at
right,
here?
Yeah, this is huge. 209.55 for him. 6th place, top American. This was huge. Joel Rykow. Runs for Minnesota Distance Elite, and he dropped a 209.56. Now, he's not a complete unknown. I don't want to shortchange him. He had a 2:10 marathon from the Chicago back in 2023.
That's right.
But he's been coming up in an era where a lot of Americans have been faster. Call it the Conor Mantz era, the Clayton Young era. And even in the debuts realm, we had Joe Klecker coming in. He had some more fame. B.S. Mbassa was in the race. Hillary Bohr was doing his debut, one of the top steeplechasers in American history and in the world. No one was talking about Raikkow. Massive race for him. 3 seconds back, another American. Was not one of the guys I just mentioned. Charles Hicks running for Nike Swoosh. So
That's right.
a very eclectic 1-2 punch for the Americans. Wouldn't have expected that.
And we'll break the American race down in more detail in a bit here, because we'll talk about the women's performances and the men's performances a little bit more in a second here. But overall takeaways from the men's side of the race. Was this a surprise, a foregone conclusion? I mean, this was your pick beforehand, so you felt really good about it.
Yeah, I was happy about that.
And I don't think you were. I mean, I definitely wasn't surprised that Benson Kipruto was in the mix.
I wavered. This is what I mean about my picks going to crap. Like I wavered this morning. Benson Kipruto was my pick as well. Caitlin and I agreed on this, and then I got mesmerized by Abdi Nagiye, the defending champion, at the press conference. He seems so confident.
Wouldn't have? Yeah.
He'd done New York 4 times. His worst placing was 5th. He knew the course, and I just thought, you know what? This is Mr. New York. He's going to get it. He knew my New York quiz better than any other elite athlete. I was like, this guy's dialed in. And he did not have a good day.
Did he drop in the end? Because I don't see a finish in the top 20 for him.
No finish in the top 20.
But you're right, Alex. He was so confident. And he even said when we asked him, what are you going to change? What do you think you can improve from last year to this year? He said absolutely nothing.
Yeah, he's like,
he
said
won
nothing.
last
I won,
year,
so I wouldn't do anything differently.
He
and I was
looked
like,
great last year, but he got dispatched this year.
Yep.
I would say my takeaway from the men's race is incredible finish. Also a really exciting finish because, as I was saying before, the 2 guys who finished 1-2 clearly are pals, and they crossed the finish line, and then immediately hugged and started laughing at what they just put each other and themselves through, and clearly had a great time doing it. And so it's always nice to see that there's that kind of camaraderie and bringing the most out of yourself and your competitor in the process. So I think that was a pretty amazing.
I much prefer to see that than the Obiri Lokedi tension.
Yeah. Although, listen, it's bringing the best out of them. It's just whether or not one of them goes home devastated and absolutely pissed off about it, right? So,
yeah.
But that's just also just being an elite competitive athlete,
exactly.
right?
Absolutely.
So, So I would say the takeaway from this as well is, and we should just get right into this. But before we get into Kipchoge legacy time, we should note that another GOAT, maybe the number 2 all-timer, Kenenisa Bekele, he was on the start list. I don't think he started.
We didn't see him at the start. There were no splits on him. I think he was a no-show.
He was a late addition. He was not at the press conference on Friday. There was not much talk about him. He was inserted into the chatter on the broadcast at the beginning of the broadcast, where they did show his stats and talk about how he was one of the top runners in the field. He is over 40 years old now. He's the 40 plus world record holder, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yes.
And would love to see Kenny back running another marathon. We thought we were going to get it today. We did not, but hopefully he's all right. Hopefully he's not injured. Okay. So, next up on our laundry list of items to cover today.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Oh boy.
What does a Kipchogeologist like myself do now?
You're out of a job.
I'm out of a job. I have nothing left to study.
I think it's time to start teaching.
So exactly. Could teach advanced Kipchoge ethics and tactics. So we should talk about Mr. Kipchoge. He was the talk of the town. Only Eliud Kipchoge could come to a city like New York and take it over. He definitely did. His presence was felt from the moment we got here midweek this week. And it kind of started to seep out this week that this would be his last, let's call it his last competitive race, that he was not officially retiring after this event, but that he was hanging up the alpha flies for trying to run in the elite field and compete for the win in marathons. So this is fitting. This is his 7th and final World Marathon Major until they announce the next World Marathon Major. He becomes, I think, the first elite athlete to finish all 7, if I'm not mistaken. And
he got his medal.
He got his 6-star medal. He was very keen about that. He talked about that in the press conference beforehand. He talked about that with you guys when you had your effectively, I was going to call it 1-on-1, but it was more like a 4-on-1 of him talking with us beforehand for quite a while on Friday. And so this is it for Kipchoge. And he finished, let's get the final stats up here.
He finished in 17th place, the time of 2:14:36. Pretty big positive split. Kudos to him because he ran it to win it. Like he ran it with the leaders until
he was in the lead group for the first, and there was a lot of deference and respect given to him. He was
there
leading the group at one point. Yep. He was in the middle of the pack, in the middle of the sort of like in the slipstream of the group, as he often has been in throughout his entire career. At one point, he split the first half in 1:05:20. So that's a 2:10:40. See, I'm guys impressed by my math there.
Wow, impressive.
Wow, yeah.
Times 2.
And then he ended up with a pretty big positive split of almost 4 minutes. So obviously it wasn't the easiest second half for him. He ran most of the second half by himself. There was a Kipchoge cam on him that the New York Roadrunners
Of course
installed,
there was.
which is great.
We wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah, and he seemed like he had a smile on his face and was trying to enjoy himself as much as one can, struggling in the second half of the marathon.
He was waving and smiling at the finish. As
he may have just sort of like
does.
taken the notch off of it and was kind of like, I'm just going to run this one in.
Right.
We need to take a second to talk about this shirt though. That was like the fashion statement of the race. So he shows up to the start line with not a singlet or not even a singlet with arm warmers, but a full shirt with tiny little holes throughout the shirt and then big chops off like parts of the arm. So to like create some ventilation around, I guess, his armpits and forearm. I hate saying this, but it kind of gave me like the white flag kind of feeling.
He's wearing a white flag. That's not very nice, Alex.
It's not nice, but when I saw him coming down waving, it was kind of like, oh, this is kind of a funny look. Like I think that he should have stayed with the singlet. I don't know what the deal was with that shirt.
Okay, so it's called. I know a little bit about this shirt because I sat in on the news briefing that Nike did a couple of months ago on this shirt. So this thing was born out of engineering that their trail running team put together for some of their athletes, including Caleb Olson for Western States. Now, Western States 100-mile race, very hot. Brutal race. And so they were trying to figure out how to elevate their game with cooling technology. This sucker is called the Nike Radical Airflow top. And basically what it is they've like done a whole bunch of wind tunnel testing and body temperature stuff. And they basically figured out, hey, if we kind of angle and design these tiny little holes in a certain way on the shirt and use certain types of yarns and certain type of knitting techniques, we can actually pull air through onto the body and it will cool the body much more efficiently than just like a sweat wicking top would. And that's also why there's the like kind of weird holes in the arm sleeves and the sides as well.
Any one of these for Costa Rica, guys?
Listen, it looks kind of
fancy.
It looks like
it looks
I
fancy.
like the look of it.
Yeah, me too. I do.
It's the first time I've seen an elite athlete wear a long sleeve when it wasn't like absolutely freezing cold or a torrential downpour ever, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
And it looks slick on the kipper.
Oh yeah.
There's like a couple of neat features. One, you'll notice that I think it's the left arm sleeve is slightly shorter than the right arm sleeve. And that is because I guess Caleb Olson was giving Nike's designers feedback and saying that like he wanted to be able to see his watch and not have to pull up the sleeve.
Sense.
Yeah, it makes
So it's like a little design, Nike's good at this. Now, how much this thing is going to cost is going to be available in the springtime. We're doing like a Nike ad here. This thing's going to sell like crazy, especially with Kipchoge wearing
Kind of
it.
want one.
Yeah, kind of cool.
And what I thought of when I saw it first was, oh my God, Caitlin is right. Kipchoge's heading to the trail. So we knew that there would be some type of announcement after the race, but we didn't know what it was. We kind of knew at this point that Kipchoge was retiring, so there was a possibility that in itself was going to be the announcement. but we all had the feeling that there was going to be something else.
Mm-hmm.
And we were guessing. My guess was that Cape Town was going to become the 8th major marathon.
Right.
And I think Caitlin's guess was that Kipchoge was going to say, for sure, because he had alluded to it a bunch, that his next goal, his next game would be the trail.
He did tell me that when we were speaking. I said, okay, so what's the next step? Are you going to come to the trails? Are you going to run an ultra? And he said to me verbatim, that's the future.
That's the future.
And I said, oh, okay.
The future for him, the future for
for him.
people who run on trails.
Where's Bill Quinn when we
Oh,
need him?
we need you back,
yes,
our
our
friend.
TCS
Our
futurist.
friend, the futurist.
Yes,
Come and
that's
tell
right.
us.
If you've not checked out that episode, we're also putting up a lot. We'll put up a recording of the live show. Two and change hours, I forecast you will finish the New York City Marathon. So, Kipchoge, 11 World Marathon Major wins. He, as you said, Alex, he's won 4 of the 7 World Marathon Majors. He's won Berlin, he's won London, he's won Tokyo, and he won Chicago way back in 2014. I'm actually surprised he didn't come back to Chicago at some point in the last 5 or 6 years and give that a go again, because that was sort of really the jumping off point for him. Also, of course, 2-time Olympic marathon champion. And then there's the whole career on the track, which is just like, feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, because it is.
But this is a guy who is, every time I say to myself, maybe Benson Kipruto, maybe Kenenisa Bekele, maybe the late great Kelvin Kiptum, maybe these guys are actually in contention for challenging Kipchoge for greatest marathon runner of all time, or distance runner of all time even. And then you look at that just raw stat of 11 wins, a 7-year period of going undefeated. He's just one of the great athletes in history, and certainly the greatest. I'd say you could argue greatest runner in history of any ability level. Usain Bolt would be probably the only person to really challenge that, perhaps.
That's a great debate, actually. Bolt versus Kipchoge that we could have, but
yeah. So he leaves the sport at an elite level, at least. He transitioned from being not just the greatest winner of marathons, but also kind of this iconic presence, right? Like it's weird, it's special, it's magical when Kipchoge's in town.
Of course.
I think that will continue to be the case. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him at a World Marathon Major near you in the future as more of an ambassador. But he did announce afterwards, so our colleague Thomas was in the room, and Thomas was like frantically messaging us. He was like, before you go on the Instant Reaction podcast, there's something they say there's going to be an announcement. There's going to be something, I think he called it something interesting that Kipchoge is going to add to his press debrief about, wrapping up his career as an elite athlete.
And then it was that. So we're getting like a bunch of videos of Eliud Kipchoge giving this like long chat, and shout out to him because he's giving the media everything that they need. He's sitting, I think, by himself for a good while on stage, talking about his performance, talking about his career. And then finally, one of the top heads of Abbott, company that has the World Marathon Majors, comes up and gives a presentation and gives him this like massive medal and this nice blue jacket with the popped collar that almost made him look like an evil villain smiling. Oh yeah, there's the picture right there. Like, look at this medal.
Yeah.
And then they get
it's a
into
sweet jacket though.
They
nice.
get
Looks
into
good.
it is a nice jacket.
Yeah. He's always so well dressed.
He always is. Yeah, definitely.
Always matching.
Yeah.
Under the jacket is obviously a green jacket that matches the green Nike Ineos pants. But
so he's got the big 6-star medal on. He's got the shit-eating grin. He's like, I think he's pretty happy with everything that's gone on. I mean, ultimately, I'm sure he probably would, as a competitor, would have liked to have been higher up in the standings with a slightly better performance, but he got it done, and that's a big ask to do 2 marathons in 8 weeks, especially at his ripe old age, right? Can you imagine doing 2 marathons in 8 weeks right now at the highest level?
Not.
No, that's incredible. But so the big announcement.
the big announcement is not necessarily a retirement. It's not also not a retirement. He's going on a running tour. It's called Eliud's Running World, and it entails 7 marathons on 7 continents over the next 2 years.
Right.
We don't know when exactly the marathons are. We don't know where they will be, though we do know that he will attend races that already exist. And so they're not like making new marathons for Eliud Kipchoge, though if you count it correctly, you realize this is 7 continents and Antarctica is a continent. So I guess he's going to do some race in Antarctica. I'm not that familiar with the races that
There's
already
a couple of marathons in Antarctica.
Yes.
They're totally oddball events. You guys spoke to the 7 continents and 7 marathons in 7 days guy at the expo. That's its own weird event.
Insane event.
And this is not that, but they do a run in Antarctica, and there's an event that happens. It's a pre-existing event. And you touch down at like near McMurdo, which is the research facility in Antarctica, and it's an airfield. And you basically just run around. I think it's like a 2.5 kilometer loop around Antarctica.
Small loop.
So Kipchoge it seeped out on Friday that his interest after his competitive career included running in Antarctica. He didn't even say it was running in Antarctica. I don't know. Maybe he was just like, I was like, is this guy really into penguins? I don't know what's going on here.
He's going on an expedition.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was out there on Friday, and we really didn't know what to make of it. Now it makes a heck of a lot more sense. He's committing to running a marathon in Antarctica, it sounds. So over the next 2 years, go to this site. It's still kind of vague, but it's a very slick website. It's Eliud's
Running World.
Eliudsrunningworld.com. And it gives you some information. What we've gleaned from this is it does say Eliud Kipchoge will compete. It uses the word compete, not run, which is interesting. Will compete in 7 marathons and on all 7 continents over the next 2 years. And it also invites you to join him. It doesn't give you any specific information on how it is you can join him, but it just says that there will be some sort of like participation component. And then it also unpacks that this project will aim to raise at least $1 million for the Eliud Kipchoge Foundation. $1 million. I feel like I'm watching
Austin
Powers. It's like, dude, go 100 million, like $1 million, but like literally if Eliud Kipchoge like took to Instagram right now and was like, runners, I need your help. If I've done anything for you in life and inspired you in any way, please help me now today at this one time. Each of you donate $1 to my foundation. He would raise $1 million in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, this guy could throw a GoFundMe out there and make 10 mil.
Exactly. So like, make it a bill, anyway. So
it's just it's a nice life project. It's very exciting. It's inspiring. It's going to be a lot of fun. And you mentioned that he did write the word compete, and I'm not that surprised, because what Kipchoge also told us on the Friday before the race is that every time he gets on the start line, he is there to win no matter what. And I don't think that just goes away. I don't think if you're Eliud Kipchoge,
it's hard to shut off.
That you're just like, no, now I'm just going to run for fun. I don't think that happens. So no matter how he does, I think, the word compete is still really relevant to him, because that's how he sees his races.
Can you imagine the Kipper getting on the start line in Antarctica and he's looking around and he's like, oh, there's only 87 people here. I'm going for it today. I'm going for the W.
I just keep picturing him in like a snowsuit
and like a Canada Goose onesie, like and like the full Antarctica kit.
And Nike snowshoes.
I hope they go at the warmest time of year.
Well, I mean, that probably would make sense.
I think that is when they do it. I don't think they're doing it when it's,
Of course. But what is the warm? Well, anyway, I don't know what the warmest time of year would be. I would like to know what the temperature would be.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Kipchoge is leaving at least the elite end of this sport. My closing questions on this is like unassailably the greatest marathon runner of all time, perhaps the greatest distance runner of all time. We have any pushback on that from you guys?
No.
And if so, you can direct your hate to either of my colleagues if they do, and not to me, because I didn't say that. I think he's the GOAT.
Well, we do have some comments.
He is the GOAT.
Then because we're live, I'll make reference
yes.
to one of them, because we did the like quick Bolt Kipchoge comp, and one of our listeners, Mike, says he thinks in 50 years Bolt's legacy and times will hold up better than Eliud Kipchoge's time. Basically, probably thinking that his time of 2:01, which yes, already has been beaten by Kelvin Kipton, will be beaten by a lot more people, whereas maybe Bolt's times are less touchable.
When you look at,
I
hate looking at the World Athletics points table nonsense, because it's just the most boring way to evaluate sport.
But you looked at the
But
World
I looked at it
tables,
anyway. And the Bolt 100 and 200 are a higher number than even the 1:59:40 that Kipchoge ran unofficially, is like the fastest marathon time unofficially ever run. And I do think that in the next, let's say generously, 5 years, so the sub 2 hour barrier will be broken by someone else. Whereas I don't know if Bolt's 100 and 200 meter times will be broken in the next 5 to 10 years. I don't know that.
Doesn't look like it.
No. So, and there's a lot of factors in that. I'm not interested in debating that today. There's an interesting talking point. I mean, it's sort of like we're getting sucked into thinking along those lines here, discussing that. But I would say Kipchoge, hopefully he's enjoying a nice slice of New York style pizza. Although that was Sifan Hassan's pull from before the race. She said that's what she wanted. Kipchoge was more just kind of like, I just want to be happy and be with the people. And so I think he's going to be sorely missed. I don't see a real clear heir apparent for him. It's such a giant pair of alpha flies to fill, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, physically and also personality wise. I don't think someone will become the next Kipchoge. I think he was his own thing. I think it's very difficult for an athlete to become the philosopher king, right? Yeah. And to be a philosopher king, you must first be a king and then become a philosopher. Well, Kipchoge did the really hard thing of becoming a king, and then did the really hard thing of somehow at some point along the line becoming a philosopher. And I don't know who will do that next.
That's right. Okay, so let's pivot into the American races, because some interesting storylines there for sure. I think the number one, the big takeaway here is on the women's side with Fiona O'Keefe. We discussed this at length because we had a lot of opportunity to talk about her, because she was on the screen
for a long time.
Because she was in the mix.
Yes, she was.
She was in the pocket with the 3 other leaders going well into this race, and she actually fared even better than Sifan Hassan, and looked like she had a lot more command of herself for a lot longer, until she was eventually dropped by the top 3 runners in this race, and then ends up in 4th. But all that to say, that's a hell of a performance by Fiona O'Keefe. This is really her second marathon. Right. She started the Paris Olympic Marathon. She ran not very much of it. She was clearly badly injured. And then it was kind of like, are we ever going to see this person again? Like, I honestly thought to myself, is this a scenario where this person is really badly injured and ran an incredible debut marathon, but is not going to be able to remain healthy and compete? And it's like kind of over before it started. And that was like, I have to admit, that was like in the back of my mind. And
we hadn't really spoken about her as much as we did, for example, Emily Sisson, who we thought maybe that would be her spot during this race, right? We thought that she was going to be in contention for a podium position, and she definitely got switched out there for Fiona O'Keefe. So it was a bit of a surprise and a wonderful one, and she made this excellent kind of comeback, and she showed us that she is still there, and she is extremely relevant and fast, and just probably going to continue to get better and better and be up there contending for podium spots.
And I want to say I'm happy for her.
Yeah. Of course.
This is like, she's had such a weird career, like a very short, like early career with so many emotional ups and downs. First, coming out of nowhere and then winning the American Marathon Trials in 2024, and then going from basically hero to villain in the next 4 months, making the Olympic team, stepping on the line, doing a couple miles, dropping out. There's a lot of talk that she probably could have given her spot to somebody else before starting that race, but we've talked about this on the live show. I don't want to go all the way into it, but maybe her contract meant, in her contract, she would get a bonus if she started at least an Olympic race, and she did, and she dropped. And it's like she's gone from high to low with barely a year of marathoning experience, and then you don't hear from her in months. And when she comes here today in New York, this is her first major. Like how this is such like what an early career, and now boom, like one major, fourth place. Like this is good. There were bad vibes around her name, and maybe it's not her fault at all. And now she's been able to redeem herself.
Think of this trajectory. Okay, she's from North Carolina. She lives in North Carolina. She ran at Stanford. Big program, but not a world marathon major. First marathon, U.S. Olympic marathon trials in Orlando. There's a lot of attention on it, but this is not this is a race it had a couple of hundred people in it, right? Wins that race in commanding fashion, really kind of blew everyone away in that race. Then her second marathon is the Olympics,
right?
Where she
Can
is.
You just say that second marathon,
the Paris Olympics, where there was so much hype, so much attention. Really kind of like a maximal media event. And also she's going into it horribly injured and probably feeling like pretty down and pretty, I can only imagine. I would feel really guilty. I don't know how she felt, but
probably pressured.
I would feel very pressured. I'd feel cornered. I would feel bad that I'm taking the spot if I know I'm injured, but then I would be like, you got to make a living.
Yeah.
Like I just an impossible scenario for her. And then recovering from that injury. And then she's following it up with New York, the biggest marathon in the world, the biggest spotlight, the most pressure, and she just shows out all the way through. She ran half in 1:11:02, so that's a 2:22:04 halfway split, and she finishes in 2:22:49. So barely a positive split, was in the mix for the win late into the race as an American in New York against the three returning champions. Yeah. I mean, it's just like disgustingly cool. Like it's just, I really think like in terms of just power ranking performances today, no taking away from either the men's or the women's winners because they won the damn thing. But just like in terms of just bang for your buck performance, fantastic. I think Fiona O'Keefe maybe had the best overall like jump of the day, right?
And also, Americans, shout out to Annie Frisbee, who rounded out the top 5.
We would be like freaking out about Annie Frisbee today if it weren't for Fiona O'Keefe's performance, right?
Yeah. 2:24:12 for her, also running for Puma. So a good...
2 great Puma performances.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. And then third, and then we'll round out the American podium. So Emily Sisson, who we talked about quite a bit in the preview show, we kind of wondered like, is this going to be her moment? Because New York is a New Balance event. She's the marquee New Balance athlete. She was, I think, wearing the Super Comp Elite 5 on her feet. And we wondered aloud in the preview show about whether or not this was going to be a big breakthrough moment for her, and whether maybe she could even contend for the win. She ends up in 2:25 and in 8th place overall. So a decent performance by her. She looked like she's pretty happy crossing the finish line, but I probably maybe not like how she envisioned it in her mind in the days leading up to this.
Men.
Let's talk about the men's performance. So the men's performance, perhaps a little bit more of a surprising grab bag of competitors that picking this top 5, let's say even picking the top 3, betting on the top 3, I don't know what the betting odds would be, but you'd be a very rich person right now if you picked these 3 for the top 3 Americans.
Yeah, and I think what happened was that Joel Reichow and Charles Hicks, who finished 6th and 7th, just ended up running a slightly smarter race than some of the other Americans. So even like 10K out of the finish or 5K out of the finish, it looked pretty clearly that Bia Simbasa and Hillary Bohr would be your top 2 Americans, and then Joe Klecker would probably round out that podium. And then Bohr and Simbasa both kind of blew up. It was a positive split on both of their ends. And then Reichow and Hicks picked up the pieces. So we did mention Reichow. Let's get back to him a little bit. This is his 4th marathon. He's been at it since 2020. He debuted
He did the Marathon Project in Chandler. I remember him in this race.
You do. See, your memory's better than mine because like he was pretty deep into the results list and kind of just not a start that was that auspicious, and especially comparing to where he got after that. 2023 was a big breakthrough for him. 2:10:37 at the Chicago Marathon. We didn't talk about it. We were busy with something else that year. Kelvin Kiptum had run too flat. And
that's right.
That took all the headlines. But Raikkow had kind of arrived there. Pretty quiet in 2024. Ran 2:12:52 at the New York City Marathon. And then this year, 2:09:56, top American. This is a really good race. So I'm double clicking on him right now because I think that he negative splitted the thing. 65-21 at the halfway mark. So in a big pack. And then after that goes 64-35. So significant negative split. Ran it super
race.
Smart. And if you might have seen him on your screen. He has a pretty distinct look. He's got pretty long flowing hair.
Same goes for Charles Hicks. He also negative split this race. And so kids, paying attention at home, you want to run a quality marathon. Know what you're capable of, and then just be patient in that first half, especially on a tricky course, and then you too get to be the top American.
How many times do we have to say, don't go out too hard?
Don't go too hard.
Don't want to listen to
And
that
there's the
advice.
result.
It's that easy, is it?
And whereas, Hillary Bohr and Simbasa, who I think both did well, they were fourth and fifth top Americans. Both. I'm just clicking here. Positive split is my guess. Yes, and
but not by much.
But not by a ton.
Not by much.
But we're up in that lead group and faded a little bit in the last couple of kilometers of the race. So and a big shout out to Colin Benny, who was our special guest for our live watch along. So he joined us in at our event at our venue in Midtown in. A really smart guy, data analyst for the Miami Marlins. I'm gonna have to now email him and ask him like what do our Toronto Blue Jays do? And,
oh boy, we haven't mentioned them yet today.
We haven't got there.
We haven't spoken about it.
I don't want to talk about it, but
I heard silence in the Airbnb when the game was over. That's all.
It was 11 innings.
Just
You could hear a pin drop in this place.
The sound of whatever the sound of disgust was, that was the sound.
Yes.
So that's the elite fields for the American runners, and as always in New York, you're always going to see some pretty great performances. The Americans come to compete. So before we go nerd out a little bit on shoes here, and then wrap things up with what we think were kind of some of the highlights and neatest things that we saw on New York City Marathon weekend. And shout out to our watch along sponsor and partner, and also a sponsor of the podcast, Momentous. They make incredible products for nutrition, for hydration, for recovery. Their supplement stack is deep and excellent. Everything from like totally healthy and natural sleep aid stuff to which I've tried and totally works, to quality multivitamin. To we've been slugging away at their fuel, which is a nice flavored fuel, nice and mellow for before we're all going to go for like a 10-mile run after this. So
I got 25K on tap.
Oh, okay.
Oh, my
Yikes.
goodness.
Okay.
We're
gonna
I
go
will do
from
some of
this-
that. I will do some of that.
There's an Alex Sear sized print below me on this couch, and we're going to go from this to beast mode. We're going to try. And so
I'll do like
please
what's
get me there.
I'll do like baby beast mode. I'll do half beast. Anyway,
I'll do half beast.
half beast.
Momentous is our friend this weekend. It's kept us from completely crashing and stock filled with electrolytes and protein to carb ratios and all of that. So there'll be a link in the description for a pretty nice discount on your first order. So thanks to Momentous for partnering with us. Okay, shoes.
Alex,
Shoes.
talk to us.
Okay, we don't bury the lead. Let's call out our winner. There's a winner. There are some
Like a shoe,
smaller
like the
winners?
shoe. If the shoe was the competitor today, what's the winner of?
Yeah, I'd say the brand. We got to call it brands because
Okay.
brands have multiple shoes now.
Yep.
So there's a brand winner. There are some secondary winners, and there's a brand loser.
Ooh.
The brand winner is Adidas. Oh my God. Okay. The men's podium was super cool for a lot of reasons. It was like 1, 2, 3 Kenyans all wearing the same tracksuit. Wow, what dominance. That's great. All Adidas athletes. Wow, it's amazing. You know what's crazier? They were all wearing different shoes.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
That is
all wearing
different
shoes.
Adidas shoes, right?
So, okay, from memory here, Benson Kipruto was wearing
Pro Evo
the
2.
Pro Evo 2.
She was because she wore the Pro 4 last year to win the race.
So we'll look at it again. The tell is it when you're just looking at it from a stream is under the shoe. If it's red, it's usually the Pro 4, and if it's black, it's usually the Pro Evo 1. So,
That's right.
But anyway, Adidas kills it. Secondary winner is On. It's gets their moment of fame. They are growing. They have, well, it's the group that's kind of shaped around Sharon Lokedi, the dark Under Armour Dark Sky group, and they're getting some notoriety in the running world. But historically, and by historically, I mean the last 5-10 years, when the world of super shoes just went crazy, Under Armour has not been a key player whatsoever. Sharon Lokedi's putting them on the map in a pair of shoes that I think are new, and so they deserve some attention. We should look at them. I want to get my hands on it. A huge up and comer.
Yeah. So, but she could be the next the second person in Under Armour to do really well, particularly on U.S. soil. Yeah. So, and again, we mentioned this before. Obviously, Puma has a great day because overall they do what they need to do on with the American women, and also the British athlete who finishes in 4th, Dever, and his debut. I believe he's wearing the faster 3, if I'm not mistaken.
There might be a reason for that. So, but first, this is why. Top Nike finisher in the women's race, 6th place, Sifan Hassan, who we all thought, I think, would finish higher. And then after that, hey, no other Nike athlete in the top 17.
Wow.
Yeah, go to the men's side of things. And the top...
That's surprising.
It is very surprising. Top Nike finisher in the men was Charles Hicks wearing Nike in 7th. And this is as Nike has this prototype shoe that we still don't know much about out there. So you would think that maybe their athletes would finish higher. I will give them a slight pass. I don't think Nike's top roster, maybe Kipchoge and Hassan notwithstanding, were here in New York.
No.
As we know, Chicago is a Nike race, right? Many Nike athletes at Chicago. Some of them were at the World Championships. And so their brass might have been a little bit slimmed down by now. So I'll give them a pass for that. But this was not a Nike day out on the course.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, listen, it's not to quote a Nike ad from long ago. It's not necessarily all about the shoes, right?
No.
The athletes still have to run the
something to do
times.
with it,
The
right?
athletes
They
have to run the times.
A little bit.
Nike had a very good day in Chicago, which is their event. And this is not their event. And it just sometimes they dominate. You know, last year, Conor Mantz ran really well in New York, and he is a Nike athlete. This year, he was busy recovering from crushing the Chicago Marathon and that development. The Alpha Fly 3XX, 3.
It could be the
3.1. Is it like, it's like Windows, the 3.1? It's like, are we going to get an update here, or is it just the Alpha Fly 4 and they're just not announcing it formally yet? Okay, so last thing before we close out this instant reaction podcast, let's instantly react to the entire experience here. Let's talk about the race experience in the weekend. So New York City Marathon, major marathon weekend, coming through the Expo, for example. It's a New Balance event. They obviously have the big show out of the New Balance stuff, the jackets, there's like a million different options of clothing. If you're watching on YouTube or on Spotify, then we've got an image of this year's jacket up right now. We have a copy of the jacket. And I was strutting around in it in the Airbnb in it last night, and I think our colleague Thomas has adopted it, and it will find its new home in Madrid. I think it's pretty sharp. I think it's nice. What will you guys rank the jacket? Like, is this a jacket? Is it something you'd wear? Is it, because marathon finishers jackets are like hit and miss, right? And you always hope you get a good year when you run a New York or a Boston, where in particular the jacket really is kind of a part of the fabric, no pun intended,
nice.
of the event. Like, what would you guys give? Let's go score it 0 to 10. What would you give the overall New Balance package and the jacket in particular?
I would go, okay, I love the colors. I think it's really sharp looking. Yep. I would give it an 8.
Okay.
High. But I do want to mention that at the Expo, if you were checking out some of our content, they had other versions.
They had like 6 different jackets.
And I loved the printed jacket, which had it was blue and it was pink and it was yellow and it was gray and it said the East River, Clinton Hill, Queens. It had all these different.
They had like very specific jacket. Moments in the race. Yeah,
and I really, really loved that printed jacket. And I was like, wow, these are sharp, and I would really like one of these. So I think that they had a really nice array, and then they also had the singlet in the same style, and just a really nice array of different of different gear that I would have loved.
So give it.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it an 8.
You're going 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
I'm going jacket is 6.5. I think it's a saturated market, man. Like, if you want to wear a marathon jacket, you're going to wear the Boston one. The colors are nice, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of that stuff out there.
Sure.
But I'll match you, Caitlin. I'll say overall it's an 8 because of those pieces of gear. Yeah. Shout out to New Balance here, because making some gear like that's like a bunch of different, like there's neon green, I'm looking at it now, orange and blue. That's bold, and it might be a total flop. But I'll be honest, maybe just because it's marathon weekend, I saw people wearing that on the street, and I was like, this looks sharp. I don't know if it'll hold and stand the test of time. Maybe in 3 years, people are wearing this around and it just looks weird. But right now it's in. And I also like the significance. I think overall it gets an 8.
I think, well, you guys we had on our Instagram a reel of the sort of history of the last, I guess it was, we're going back to 2017. So the last, what is that? 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, the last 9. Yeah, wow.
Oh, yeah.
It's late in the day. The last 9 New York City Marathon jackets that were produced by New Balance. I think this one is kind of up there. I like the colorway. I like how simple it is. They're not trying to do anything too crazy with the graphics. There's a big graphic in the New York City Marathon on the back, and then one on the across the heart on the top, and very simple coat. I think it's like a 7.5 on 10, and I think that the overall offering from New Balance was just a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
and it was ransacked by like Friday. We were there on Thursday and went back on Friday. By Friday afternoon, it was just like a gong show. It was like we
were in Boston. It was so crowded.
It was like an H&M on Black Friday. It was just nuts. It was like just random triple XL and double XS on the floor, and just like there was no sizing left. There were a couple of very cleverly designed pieces that just went immediately by Thursday night. New Balance obviously made it like banners. The one of the head of the sales people told me on Friday, he was like, Friday is our biggest day, and we sell like millions of dollars worth of inventory in one day on the Friday. So good for business. Yep. And New Balance had a New York City Marathon themed shoe as well. They did the Super Comp Elite V5 shoe. If you're watching along on YouTube or Spotify, we just put it up on screen. Specific colorway with a little stamp on it. I mean, nothing too out of control. And then a neat little display case showing off the shoe. It's always fun when a brand does like a limited run of a shoe that is tied in with the race and kind of ties into the overall colorway of the race. I think Emily Sisson was wearing that exact shoe for her race. Yeah. Pretty slick shoe. I think it's a nice looking shoe. Jury's out on the performance level of it, but it is a nice looking shoe for sure. So overall, I'd say I was kind of like, to use the kids' parlance, it was a bit mid on the overall offering. There was a lot of stuff, but nothing like jumped out at me as being like wowing. And it's starting to be like all the brands that are the apparel shoe sponsor of the major marathons have all really stepped up their game in the last number of years. So it is hard to stand out, right? They're all doing all this stuff now, and I think New Balance did an okay job. Other weird things we saw at the expo. How about the gigantic medal? Yeah. Yeah,
that's big.
Oh, yeah.
There was like so the New York City Marathon Finishers Medal is kind of cool this year because they actually, if you look at it, if you flattened it out, it's all, you can see all these ridges along it. And if you actually flatten it out and look at it plane wise, it's actually the contour of the elevation of the course.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
And that's a pretty clever little design. I gotta say, you run for enough time and you're kind of like, you've seen one finisher's medal, you've seen them all, and that was a neat innovation. And they had a gigantic, like, what is that? 4 foot by 4 foot version of it that you could pose in front of at the expo.
Very cool.
Which I had not seen before, and that was kind of neat. And that was like, people were like lining up. I didn't see anybody try to take a bite out of it. I was trying to find you guys to get you to go do like a little Instagram reel where you're trying to gnaw away at it. But
that would have been good.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you get your jaw around that.
They didn't even let us walk into the race car. You think they would let us bite the
medal?
That's right.
I don't think
Fair enough.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yes. They had other little trinkets, like this one jeweler did these very elegant necklaces of the course. Which I thought was quite.
Oh, isn't that nice?
It was quite elegant. Quite.
I like that.
Yeah, nice. Like, I don't know if would you wear race themed jewelry?
Well, I don't wear much jewelry, but I think that if I did wear it, it would probably be race
He's
theme.
shaking his head.
No, actually, you know what?
You're like, speaking of mid.
I actually think this is cool because I'm more about the muted thing. Like I wouldn't want to wear the metal.
But
Yeah.
it's hard to tell.
You can't even tell.
what, because the course in the New York City Marathon is very vertical, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell what that is. It's just like an abstract shape almost.
It would be a conversation piece. Someone would say, "What is that?"
Yeah.
And
I
ask
don't know.
you
Like
about
New
it.
York is cool. Like one of the New York is cool. It's like the stupidest thing I've ever said. But major marathons are neat because all of these brands, big and small, show up and become very creative around it. Like there was like a really slick, like a very expensive actually poster that this one.
Oh, that was nice.
This one like artisan was doing at the marathon where you like it was individually hand stamped, and I think it was like $100 or $90 for the poster. It was really expensive, but it was very beautiful. And all kinds of neat stuff like that. Asics did their big drop of their new Ekiden colorway, the collection of their Metaspeed series. So that's neat. We got to, that they said that like you could buy them there that weekend, and that was the only place where they're available anywhere in the world besides
until next year.
Until next year. I think they were on sale in Hong Kong at one shop in Hong Kong this week, and that's it. And New York, and that's it. So, all this cool stuff. Like, what's one standout thing for you? It doesn't have to be gear. It can be one standout experience, something that we saw in New York that really kind of grabbed you, and will be like something you want to share with our audience that you thought like really kind of made New York sort of special.
Right there, Alex pushing me out of the way to get into the expo.
Hey,
that was
man,
fun.
There's a lot of cool stuff, man. You're in my way.
I was in your way.
I have a pro and con.
Okay, do it.
I have a pro and con
Jeez,
of New York.
Come up with a con now. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm one-upping you. The pro is this reputation that New York is building as the place where we announce things.
Yeah.
Last year, they announced that the Sydney Marathon would become a 7th world major here in New York. And then this year, there was all this intrigue around what Kipchoge was going to say. In my opinion, it turns out that this announcement is, can we say mid once again? Like it's cool that he's doing his own thing and stuff, but I was expecting like an 8th major or something that we'd think of a bit more. And it turns out that no, but it's the place where we announce things. At the expo, there was also this World Athletics booth that was promoting a little known, but something that will happen, indoor running championships that'll take place next year. And so there was some buzz around that. And again, I don't know how that will do, but the guys working there were very excited. And it's going to be something that will exist in the world and that they're really promoting here in New York City. And then you have other races setting up their booths here. We saw the Valencia booth trying to get people interested in this race. New York seems to be the place of future news for the running world, and that's cool. That's my pro. My con, this is where New York doesn't compare to Boston, in my opinion.
Whoa, okay.
Boston is magical because the entire city knows that the marathon is happening not just on the day, because today, yes, New York shuts down and it's brilliant.
Yes.
But Boston is that way for almost a week.
Yeah,
you walk through Boston on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you know where the pop-ups are. The entire city knows that the marathon's taking place.
And it's concentrated. It's mostly on Newbury Street.
Well, it's a size thing, right? It's much harder to do that in New York. It's not anybody's fault. It's just a logistics and size thing. In New York, unless you're hanging around the expo, you can't quite tell that it's marathon weekend until Sunday morning. And I think that takes away a little bit from the overall magic of what's going on in the city until then.
I don't know. You see a lot of like people from all parts of the world in like tight jeans and Berlin Marathon finishers jackets, wearing super shoes on Saturday afternoon, walking around with like, Times Square, like just staring straight up. Right. So there's a vibe. There's definitely a vibe, but you are right. Like, because Boston is not as big a city, but the Boston Marathon is such an important part of the history and tapestry of that city. And because they can concentrate everything on this one sort of magical strip on Newbury Street. And then there's the finishing area in Boylston that gets closed down for the entire week, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It feels like you're at the epicenter of the sport for an entire week's time, whereas it's like New York's New York. I mean, it's a big, big city. And like we're going from Soho up to Central Park West and back, trying to get to all these different activations and pop-ups and meeting with lead athletes. And
I think we got like 30,000 steps in a day.
Definitely.
at
man.
least.
I
right?
closed all my rings every day
Yeah.
without even running.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was very, yeah.
Caitlin, what's your positive takeaway? I won't force you to do a negative, although Sear is throwing down the gauntlet here with
You
a
know
hot
me.
take.
Am I going to do a negative takeaway? No. If nothing was blaring, you probably won't get a negative takeaway from me because it just made me want to run this marathon. Of
There
course.
we go.
And there were so many things, and maybe something. I don't know if this was just special for us, but I don't think so because we were able to really communicate it with our audience. But I think that the athlete availability was a really nice experience.
Yeah.
I think that New York this year had such a deep field, and the way that they put that together for us and to be able to communicate that we were able to communicate that to our audience so easily and have all this wonderful one-on-one time. Because, the previous press conference that we had gone to, everyone speaks at the front of the line. It's just a few seconds. They take a picture and they're gone. We got to get this really beautiful one-on-one time with any and all of the athletes that we wanted to and share those special moments and be able to tell our audience about those moments. And I think that was something that was really nice about New York.
Oh, retweet on
Yeah,
that,
right?
Caitlin. When you feel like you can work as a media person, when you feel like you can work with a public relations professional and you both understand your job, it's magic. It's awesome. Not always the case.
Yes.
But at the press conference, it was amazing.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a special. I mean, for me, I think the big takeaway was just having Kipchoge sort of like close out this component of his career on his own terms, doing it on the big stage in New York, and being pretty gracious about how he dealt with everything. Because obviously, there's not ideal circumstances for him. I think like when he started to envision this pathway in his career where he was thinking to himself, I'd like to run all the marathon majors and be an ambassador for the sport. And this capacity is also a big competitor, right? So
Right.
I think for me, the big takeaway was like, it was really neat that it was both the Kipchoge swan song and he got to kind of leave on his own terms, healthy, successful, and then announcing the next phase of his whatever that weirdness is. We're going to find out what it is in the next couple of years. We're going to be watching We're going to be watching a live stream of Kipchoge, like talking to penguins and running around in Antarctica in a circle. I mean, bring it on. I am all for that. It sounds like I'm being like a cynical brat here, but give me the live stream of Kipchoge running in a circle on Antarctica.
Yeah.
I will watch that.
Yeah.
I mean, the alternative was that he would leave the sport and we'd never see him again, and that would have
Nobody
sucked.
wants that.
Nobody
Yeah,
wants that.
Nobody
or
wants
like a
that.
spiral of injury with aging, and then he's not able to get it completed, and then it just sort of like he just eventually is like, yeah, I'm not really running marathons. That would have been a really sad outcome. Instead, it's sort of like, in many ways, I mean, the fairy tale ending would have been, the Kipper has got like one last great one in him, and he wins a kind of a gutsy marathon. That wasn't obviously in the cards today, but so that's
And that never happens. That's
no. I mean that, and not in marathon running. It's
And it
just too hard.
doesn't change the way we will always remember the Kipper in any way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's still always going to be the GOAT.
Yeah, just for me, the big takeaway is that like the New York is still the biggest race in the world. It brings everyone into this thing. It's a huge tent, and that's like we're checking out all the different pop-ups. The different brands really bring their A game. They're like renting out entire shops in Soho, and the stuff is beautiful. And there's all, I mean, and like we didn't even bother counting how many shakeout runs there were this time, because there were plenty. 30 plus for sure. It's truly an international race. I think it's just like the ultimate running weekend, right? And it's just so much fun to be in the city when this is all happening. Okay. I think we've done enough talking about the New York City Marathon for at least
A year?
At least, yeah.
300 and
Well, no, until
50 days.
and that's not. It's gonna be like 10 months until the next elite athlete field announcement.
That's
and then
right.
We'll be bubbling.
August-ish.
Then we'll be like bubbling and brimming with excitement because Sifan Hassan is going to be like, "I'm going to come back and kick all of your asses," and she's amazing, by the way. Like,
Oh, yeah.
talk about like quote machine. Holy,
Talk about
quote
the athlete
machine.
availability. She was
Yeah.
a shining star.
she's
Yeah.
a very available athlete.
Yeah.
She's totally available.
Conferences.
She is like, she is top of the list podcast guest at some point.
Please.
We're gonna hit up our friends at Nike to
Oh,
make that, to
my
set
goodness.
that up, because
Yeah.
she's a barrel of monkeys. She's nuts. She's so much fun.
She's so much fun. I think I took like
and very
15
clever.
quotes down from her.
Yeah,
It was they were
very
all
clever.
so good.
Total open book. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna close out for those who are watching the live stream of this on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. And if you don't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel because we do this kind of stuff all the time. We're going to do this for every single marathon major. We're going to do a live watch along show. If you watched along today with our watch along show, you noticed that probably there was like production values were a little elevated. We've got a massive plan for Boston next year for the first World Marathon Major of the 2026 slate. We've got a big plan for that. So subscribe to our YouTube channel to get all our latest videos. We got a lot of stuff coming out from New York, from all the stuff we've been doing in the fall, as well as give us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Because helps us reach runners like yourself. Subscribe to our newsletter. Goes out every day of the week. Send us an email. You have a question, a thought, a take. You don't like Alex's negative take about New York, send that email. Send it to podcast.
My personal email.
Susie, send it to a podcast at marathonhandbook.com. We do quarterly mailbag episodes. We've got a lot of questions left to answer, and we do hit some questions in every episode as well. Our episodes go out on Thursday mornings at around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, so we can tag along on your morning run on Thursday.
Or with your cup of coffee.
Or your evening run on Thursday evening. Yeah. And thanks to Momentous for sponsoring a lot of what we did this weekend. And also thanks to Wahoo for their kicker run, for that incredible experience we had with them at the expo. That was so cool and so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And also for sponsoring the podcast and being a great partner with us. They're kind of turning into like a long-term partner with us, and they're amazing. And if you're going into winter and you're like, how am I going to get all my running in? I'm training for
Tokyo, Boston. Yeah. Any of those.
How am I going to do this?
Mm-hmm.
This is like the super shoe of treadmills. It is the only treadmill, as far as I'm concerned. It's like, this is not a treadmill. It's so good. So we've got a crazy discount. It's 25% off for the month of November, and you get a free smart fan as well. It's in links in the show notes. So thanks to them for sponsoring our podcast.
And to the people in the chat who wondered if I've done my push-ups yet.
He has not.
I have.
You did not.
You guys were gone. You didn't see it.
He has not.
He did the push-ups in his room with the door shut.
That
doesn't count.
Still counts. You guys left.
If a skinny runner does push-ups behind a closed door, did they ever happen?
I mean, you tell me.
Oh, look at those pipes. And on that note,
goodbye.
Thanks for watching and listening. We will talk to you next week.